Disturbing content. Viewer discretion is advised. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We have a lot of interesting things. What are some creepy encounters you've had? Some years ago I went to 7-Eleven with my then boyfriend. He went to the falafel place next door while I picked up some snacks. I was just leaving the 7-Eleven when a strange man asked me what I was doing that night. I said, "I'm hanging out with my boyfriend." He said, "Wanna come to a Halloween party with me instead?" I was nervous and this caught me off guard, so I kind of nervously laughed, said no thank you, and walked away from him and to the falafel place next door. I told my boyfriend about it and stuck close to him leaving the falafel place. As we were walking back to my BF's place I saw the stranger driving away in a white van. A few weeks later I saw him on the bus and pretended not to notice him. Luckily he didn't seem to notice me or much around him at all. He seemed to be on drugs and was banging on the bus window and muttering to himself. So I used to walk home / to Target when it was really dark. There's this area on the way to Target that's pitch black and no lights. I loved walking at night. It calmed me down and the views were amazing. This changed when a man ran up on me. At first I didn't think much of it since there's always someone jogging for exercise. But the situation changed when I looked back and this person was running full speed. Not in my general direction, towards me. Even if that person wasn't running towards me, no one runs full speed like that. I quickly became the fastest man in the world and made it home in 3 minutes. I'm not really sure if I was being chased, but no one runs at full speed like that at night at another person's general direction. I was walking in the parking lot of the mall with my ex-girlfriend and it was 7 PM, but it was already dark out. I forgot something in the car and we were only about 30 feet from the side entrance of the mall, so I told her I'd meet her inside. As I'm walking back to the car, I hear 2 guys come up from out of nowhere and ask her if they can borrow her phone. Something didn't feel right, so I rushed back over to her and grabbed her hand so we could head into the mall. Sure enough, about 2 weeks later, I saw those same 2 guys on a local news channel because they were arrested for attempted kidnapping of 2 young women. While working at a Jimmy John's, I did bike delivery and I just got back from a delivery with this lady walking in the store behind me. She asked for a co-worker by first and last name. He was working, but out on delivery, which we explained to her. Deliveries don't take long, so he was to return within 5 minutes. She said it was fine and let him know his mom stopped by, then she left. My coworker came back about 5 minutes after and we told him about his mom stopping by, to which he replied, "My mom died when I was 3. We were all a little weirded out. This wasn't his hometown, which was 5 hours away. And going on 9 years later, we never seen or heard about this lady again. When I was in high school, I'm a female and was like 15 at the time. Our school would send some of us to a community college for college credits. Half of our day was at the high school and the other was at the college. When we were done with our classes, some of my friends and I would wait for the bus to either take us back to our school or to get picked up. I was waiting there alone one day. My class ended before my friends, and then a man came up very close to me and asking me questions about myself or for me to show him things and follow him. He also was just getting too close to me. Anyway, my friend got to the building and noticed what was happening right away, and he tried to help me. He had to sort of lodge himself between that man and I. He even made the excuse that we needed to get to class and walked me to the other side of campus. That man kept following me and would still get so close to me, literally trying to breathe down my neck. My friend still would try to prevent him from getting close to me as we walked. Eventually, when we got to a part of campus with more students, that guy ran off. I was so scared because that man would not leave me alone and tried to get me to go in the restroom with him. I don't know what I would have done had my friend not showed up, but that man really creeped me out. A different time at that same school I had accidentally fallen asleep. There were many couch-like seats everywhere and hardly anybody was there, which normally I would not do. This was literally a one-time thing. A different friend was on the seats next to me and thought nothing of it because a lot of people would sleep there. My friend went to the restroom for a bit. This man saw me sleeping alone and came up to me. He started to shake me and yelled to wake up. He stayed and talked to me asking if I was a virgin and questions like that while I tried to process what the heck was happening. My friend came out of the restroom and saw what was happening. She came up with an excuse for us to go. Again, creepy to me. I guess I'm not the best with these situations. This story I'm about ready to tell is hard to believe, I know. But hey, maybe you'll believe me. It was around 5 to 7 years ago. My cousin's family from the city went and visited our house and stayed overnight. Me and my family live in the countryside, so our village, though suburban-like, is surrounded by vegetation. 10 years ago, though, the land where my village currently is used to be a huge sugar plantation like 20 kilometers across. We finished having dinner and I invited my cousin who was a bit younger than me for a walk outside. This was around 8 p.m. By the end of our little stroll around the village, I looked up at the sky to be greeted by thick clouds blocking out the stars. That's when I noticed something strange. Hovering lower than the clouds that were already low in the sky was this black thing. It wasn't a hole in the clouds revealing the night sky above it. It was very noticeably a thing. It was like the size of a fighter jet but solid black. It wasn't moving at all, just hovering. It only caught my attention when I looked up because I couldn't hear anything. It didn't make a sound at all. Like zero. The weirdest part of it was that it seemed to know that people on the ground could look at it, and it made it so that it was hard to see and make out what it really was. Sounds strange, I know. What I mean is that when you look at it head on, it's like it's trying to change its shape subtly, so your brain has a hard time understanding the nature of the object, but when you have the object in your periphery it's as still as an image. It's like it doesn't want your eyes to focus on the object. I called the attention of my cousin to the blackest object I've ever seen, and he just doesn't understand it too. Like when you see something in the sky like a plane or a bird, you understand it. Your brain recognizes it, even if you just glanced at the thing. But this, stare at it for as long as you like, it doesn't want you to figure it out. It was just black. I was sitting in a coffee shop when an older man approached me. He sat down at my table and struck up a conversation with me. He wanted to know all sorts of stuff. We chatted for a while, and then it got around to how old I was. He was shocked, was older, and once he found out, he got up and left. I was glad he was gone. I went to pay my tab and the barista asked me if that old guy was bothering me. I told him not really, but I was glad he left. A day later, I was at a strip club with my boyfriend, and that guy was there. He approached me again and offered me $500 to go up on stage and strip. I declined. He struck up a conversation again with me. He told me he was a Vietnam vet and then let me know he had killed a lot of women and children. He told me he liked to rape them and then slit their throats. I noped the fuck out of there. I ran back to my boyfriend and told him what the guy said, but the guy was gone by the time the bouncer went to look for him. A day later the news broke that somebody had been killed downtown. A young girl. Someone had stabbed her in the throat from behind, dragged to an alley, and raped her while she bled out. I worked with the chief of police's daughter. She told us to watch out because her dad said there was a serial killer running around. She said that this person was traveling 40 and they suspected he was some sort of traveling salesman. That guy told me that he was a traveling salesman going between Nashville and Indianapolis. He liked to stop in small towns and meet women. I never saw him again after that. I think it was him, though. Went shopping with my kids. My 8 and 9 years old girls got a milkshake, so they waited outside a clothes shop for me. A guy sitting across them immediately started smiling at my daughter like a creep. He was staring at her with a horrible smile. She is very pretty and tall, and had long brown hair. Her sister is equally as pretty, but is shorter, and had cut her hair very short, so she looked like a boy. I told myself not to be paranoid, but after going back and forth from the shop I brought them in with me. I walked in front of my girls. I tried making eye contact with the creepy guy, but he kept staring at my daughter. By the time we left the store he was gone, but I felt so paranoid decided just to go to a bookstore right by the bus stop. Let my kids go to the kids section and followed them down. I normally don't and go upstairs to second-hand part of the store. After a few minutes I start to feel very uncomfortable and tell kids it's time to go. Turn around and creepy guy stood between two aisles with a kid's book in his hands just staring at my daughter. Grabbed kids and got a cab home. Don't know if he followed us or just a coincidence, but was definitely a warning sign to always keep my eyes on my kids. Thankfully kids were oblivious. My mother and me walked to CVS the other night at around 2:30 AM to get some snacks. As we approached, a car pulls around from the back and stops. A man wearing a tan bandana around his mouth and a hat on steps out, leaves the car running, and walks in. Nothing that strange. When we entered, I look at the man, and he looks back suspiciously as he stood in front of the checkout. Again, didn't really strike me as odd, because I assumed he was waiting for an employee. In a way, he was. Just not a good way. As he began to turn around, I noticed something. He has a fucking gun. I get dizzy and begin to force my mother out the front door and we walk home quickly. While this story isn't the most exciting, it was fucking terrifying.